I think this means a lot to a lot of people. I think the working class are looking for a renewal of American jobs. I think people are looking for a border that is sane and an immigration system that works. I think a lot of people over in the Middle East are looking for Iran to pull back in the face of a president whom they fear. And, you know, look, I think it's going to be incumbent on the Democratic Party to understand that the people have spoken and to dissemble and dismantle this lawfare system that they have built up here, which is going to raise a whole series of questions that are going to have to be answered now. But they cannot say that they are better than Donald Trump and recreate a system that does not recognize that he won and the people have spoken and he is going to be the 47th president.
We haven't talked about foreign policy a lot, but imagine the Saudis, you know, making a normalization
Let me know if y'all can hear me.
with Israel in the face of a new president here. Imagine
Or if y'all can't, you should be able to.
Imagine a Ukraine deal that Donald Trump talks about. Kevin O'Leary, what is the market going to do?
You're going to love this. What's happened here is the system self-corrected. When you try and break the American model, it fixes itself. And I think people should give credit within the Democratic Party. Donald Trump saved them tonight too, because they're going to have to take a spatula to these policies and bring it back to the center.
Can you hear me,
the next
PJ?
4 years, and in a way reset. And we talked about this earlier, but he saved entrepreneurship. He saved the entire model of the S&P 500, because taxing 20% higher was a really bad idea, and it self-corrected. Capital, and this is why I'm getting on a plane tomorrow night. I intentionally didn't leave till tomorrow night so I could go to Geneva, go to Abu Dhabi, go to Riyadh, and say it's 21% corporate taxes, 100% not going to change. That is very important for people like me that bring capital back to this country. It fixed itself. It fixed itself. And I think that's why America works. It has worked for 200 years. When it gets too crazy, it fixes itself. And whether you love Trump or you hate him,
Hey, Kirsten. Hey, Sandra. Welcome in, guys.
Thank you.
Can y'all hear me?
Much,
Let me know if y'all can hear
By
me.
the way, as the
My
markets,
chat's
the
not
market and all
working
those
for some
markets
reason.
are moving,
Trying to
Bitcoin
refresh
went
it.
up exponentially.
Yes, I'm long Bitcoin.
Are you? So you're buying later.
You know, speaking of Bitcoin, I'm also struck by just calling Pennsylvania here, Dana. Trump embraced Elon Musk in an enormous way. A lot of stories were written that said that he was going to blow it in Pennsylvania, that the people who were working on his outreach teams didn't know what they were doing.
Oh, you can hear me?
And he got a lot of criticism.
Yeah, I'm
Remember
just
the
chilling,
$1 million
honestly.
giveaway for registered voters. But
for that.
Selena
Been watching
Zito,
this,
who's somebody that we follow and
election.
we've had on the show many times, and she knows that area very well. She said the people of that region love somebody who is a big thinker, who wants to create jobs, who is like looking into the future, and they can get behind that. And they love somebody who can really lead. And leadership takes courage. And you have to be willing to make decisions where you are going to be criticized. I think this is one of the problems that Kamala Harris has always had.
Yeah,
She doesn't
honestly
want to
didn't
take
know
a
what was
position on
gonna
anything.
happen.
We haven't even talked about how in California,
I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but I literally did not know where
basically
this
make shoplifting illegal again.
where this was gonna go.
Overwhelmingly, and Gascon, our friend down, the DA in Los Angeles, lost by 22 votes. I mean, this is in California, so it was everywhere. And 2 days before, 22 points, thank you. She wouldn't even take a position on that. 75% of the people in California wanted it gone, and you can't take a position to be with them?
Not only that, you were part of Prop 47,
Yes.
which changed the law the other way
Right.
when you were in office.
So not wanting to take a position and not being willing to be criticized is a problem if you want to be a leader at that level.
She had that affliction in 2020. Why didn't her own party say, you're not the right candidate? I mean, run a process.
Well, they did. They ran her out of town right before any votes were cast in 2019.
But the
and then
same
she's flunked
affliction
out of there.
hit her here. The same problem she had in 2020 hit her in
She's the same
2024.
person.
I mean, it's not all her fault. They put her in a race that she, well, we now know couldn't win.
Yeah.
But Karen, in fairness to Democrats, there's no doubt. I agree with you on unrealized capital gains. We shouldn't be taxing that. But we produce more wealth, more innovation, more oil, more cures, more therapeutics over the last 2
That's
years.
crazy.
So I hear you. Democrats are not bad for the economy. Some things she proposed that I'm with you on. But we we're a great
But yeah,
country,
Trump's very
and
close
we're
to
gonna
winning.
we're going to continue to be great.
Very
and
close.
I trust and hope and believe that
Your
President Trump.
party will be great again.
I want the
And you can thank Donald Trump for
Let me
that.
refresh
But
this.
he inherited an economy also that was in pretty good shape. I don't
I
want to
think
call about that.
this hasn't
Going
updated on the
forward,
New York
I agree with you.
Times.
I
Let me
want the
look at
country to be great, and I hope that
Associated
both of the
Press.
parties can work together to
I
try
can't
and do
spell.
that. And I salute
I just
President
use,
Trump tonight. What a great win, and I agree with you in this
correct.
regard. My party's got to reimagine and reinvent itself going forward.
Listen, I said, I wrote, hold on, I wrote about this, the unity and
You did.
past presidents and past losers and winners and what they said. This is a big speech, Britt, for former President
Yeah.
Trump. As he gets
really
ready
is.
to deliver this in front of a
Oh,
crowd.
I guess they haven't updated
He's
it yet.
obviously taken the slings and arrows and everything that's been said, the fascism, all of the things we talked about tonight. But this moment is actually a moment to reach out.
It's an opportunity if he chooses to do that, but it's also 1:30 in the morning. So you got to wonder how many people are alive to hear. But
Oh, they're there.
I-
And he's definitely
A lot of people are still
The
up.
question is, how much is the national TV audience?
I bet they're still in.
You know, I think back at the moment in Iowa at the beginning of this process, Brett, when we were in a town hall with him, bless you, Brett, and he, you know, we asked him about all of this
West Virginia. Look at it.
revenge stuff, and that he was going to want retribution, and this is what everyone heard. And there were times when he had language that was that matched that, but he said that he wanted success. To be his revenge.
There's West
and
Virginia's.
that he wanted a
I
successful
don't know if you could see that, but
America, and I would
Donald Trump,
imagine
512,000
that we're gonna hear
votes.
something along those lines
Kamala,
tonight, but we'll see.
204,000.
You wrote in your piece, you quoted one of those great old Republican
Donald Trump had
presidents, H.W. Bush.
70.1%,
He said that a
and
campaign
Kamala had
is a
28%.
disagreement and an election is a decision. And decisions clear the way for harmony.
Yeah, I
and
know
peace.
Callie got thers in so
You know,
fast.
I'm gonna be
But listen, there are a lot
They have a
of Thanksgiving
lot of
tables
votes, too.
that people are still going to have hard feelings after this election, more than any other
I
election.
have one of them.
And if you know,
Yeah.
passing the Brussels sprouts is not going to be as easy Thanksgiving Day. But this is a chance to move forward, Brett. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that one thing that can happen here, and it happened to Biden, in my view. Biden
It's
was
a
elected.
boy.
We
That's
had every
funny.
reason to
I
believe
seen
he
that
would
going
be the
around on
sort of
Facebook.
Moderate
Cracked
deal-making
me
guy
up.
that he'd been when he was in the Senate. Yes, he's always followed sort of the drift of his party, but you know, he worked across the aisle with many senators, had Republican friends and so on. We thought that would probably be the kind of president he was. And then something happened. Trump went to Georgia and made a mess of that Senate, those two Senate races down there, and the Democrats ended up with control of the Senate. At which point, old Biden started getting, you know, these historical sugar plums dancing in his head, and went out for a very aggressive agenda.
Sure, there were articles.
I thought I could put this.
How he was going to be the next
FDR,
FDR.
next FDR, he's going to out
So
Obama,
gross. That would be cool.
Remember that?
I guess I can't.
Well, in my view, that was he would have been if the
Yeah, they called
Republicans had been
Pennsylvania.
in control of
This
the
hasn't
Senate,
updated yet.
that wouldn't have happened. Was all that wild spending that led to the inflation, or led to a big part of the inflation, and Biden and the country would have been better off because of it. There's always a danger in overreaching.
Kamala Harris just won
One
Minnesota
wonders if
too.
if
But
Trump
Trump's
would be
really
so
close though. I think he
divided
needed
about
like 3 more.
I think that happened to Biden. Early on, remember he said that he's going to be returned to norms,
Three
and
more
then the
electoral
historians came in and said,
votes.
no, you could be bigger than FDR. So he says, fine, okay, I'll spend all the money. Then they cause inflation, and now they end up with
Wanda,
this
he's
result.
very close.
Well,
I don't think he's there
He
yet,
had
but
said
he is
that,
very
this
close.
Looks like new President Trump.
Trump's
if
winning.
He gets to 270, which we expect he will,
he will,
fairly
with the last
shortly. Yes, exactly.
He's
has a
almost
moment
there.
to bring about the unity that people expected after the last election. Of course, we would be kidding ourselves to think that there won't be a tremendous response to this. Tremendous.
Yeah, I think it's
backlash
3 more
in a lot
points.
of
It wasn't
corners of the
much.
country, for
So
sure.
listen, he's going to get there because Alaska's going to be Republican, but we're not done as far as calling states. There could be even more states that go Trump's way. This could be a massive landslide just by what we're looking at in the polls. Fox News decision desk count now project, though, Vice President Harris
many's
will
Minnesota
win
got?
Minnesota, and her
10.
running mate Tim Walz serves as the state's governor.
Yeah,
there.
that's what
That
they're
takes
announcing
it
right now.
Up to 267 to 226, but again,
267. Donald
will
Trump's got
be
267.
the 37th president
So yeah, he
of
needs
the
3
United
more
States.
points. Yeah, we're
Democracy
close.
24 special coverage next.
Or Donald Trump's close.
If you have generalized
Someone said Fox just
myasthenia
called it, but I
gravis,
haven't seen that
picture
yet.
what life could look like with Vyvgart Hytrulo, a subcutaneous injection that takes about
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet, but CNN called it. I didn't even see that. I know. I can't play the music though because they'll give me a strike. It sucks. I'm trying to see. They're about to start reporting out, I believe, so we'll see in just a second. I knew News Nation was posting about it. Let me look on Twitter real quick. X. I guess they didn't call it, but they said he's projected to win. I wish they would just go ahead and call it though. It's so close. I do love Elvis. I wish I could play music on here without getting in trouble. Like that's one of my biggest pet peeves, honestly. When we was live during the manhunt for Joseph Couch, there was a lot of times like when the scanner would go quiet, and I was just like, oh, I wish I could play music. I mean, you could play like some music, but it's not really that good. Just sing? I can't sing. Are you crazy? Yep, Crystal. That's right. I'm waiting for them to announce it. That way we can officially have it.
Watch party, and the crowd started chanting USA. They started chanting Trump, 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 as it now appears he will be the 47th president of the United States. Now, in addition to Trump and the call
Fox
for him in Pennsylvania, they're also excited about the possibility that Michigan could be the state that tips him over that magic 270 number. We're also following a very close Senate race here in Michigan, and they're feeling very confident about that as well. Republican candidate Mike Rogers looks like he could cruise to victory with the help of former President Trump. Democratic candidate Alyssa Slotkin, she went out to her crowd at her watch party at around 12:30 tonight and told them to go home and go to sleep, where here they extended this ballroom venue all through the night if they had to, and now it looks like the crowd is fired up as they await former President Trump taking the stage.
Okay, Grady, thank you. It is really important to point out how big the coattails could be tonight. Think about Bernie Moreno in Ohio.
Yeah, Alaska would have done
Start dead in the water against Sherrod Brown. He wins. We have right now at this hour, as Grady mentioned, Mike Rogers in Michigan is up. Looks like he is getting closer. We haven't made a call there yet. Hovde in Wisconsin, leading right now. Sam Brown in Nevada is closing in on Jackie Rosen. We're talking about historic numbers here. If all of these dominoes fall, you're talking about a Senate that could be 54-46, 55-45. That wasn't in the cards. That wasn't on anybody's bingo card when you came into election night.
But these candidates have all fought really strong races, and they have all closed in a very strong way. And in fact, many of them were sort of pulling into +5, +6 in just over the last 3 weeks. So it's a fascinating part of the story. Hopefully, we'll be able to call some more of those soon.
Yeah, I know. I wish they would. I was waiting for AP or the New York Times. I've been following AP all night.
As well, and that would be a part of this story as well. Let's go back out to Trace Gallagher.
Garbage bags. That was crazy, wasn't
Hey,
it?
Trace.
Brett, thank you. Martha, thank you as well. We've got our panel, Steve Hilton, Jody Armour, Kaylee McGee-White, and Jono Caldwell. You're talking to your panel, Brett and Martha, and we were talking to ours, and Kaylee McGee-White was struck by the whole concept that, again, Trump was undercounted. Kaylee.
This is the third consecutive polling miss in a presidential cycle for Donald Trump, and we really need to be asking ourselves, why do they keep getting it wrong? And at this point, it is a choice. Back in 2016, you could argue that you were blindsided
did
You didn't
good.
expect it.
I
You
should have
cannot
streamed
say
longer,
that
but
anymore. This was
I
predictable
was too
from the
impatient
very
with
start. And I think the
forever.
reason they keep getting it wrong is because they still don't understand the average Trump voter. They cannot wrap their heads around why so many people support him. And it's because for a long time, actually for the past decade or so, Democrats in power didn't think they needed to. And even worse, they didn't want to. They didn't want to have to stoop down to understand the concerns over immigration, over the economy. And guess what? The American people sent a very clear message tonight that you better start paying attention, and you better start paying attention soon.
We heard a lot of words, demographic. I don't know how many times we heard it, Steve Hilton, but Gianna, you talk about black voters, black male voters especially. We heard it again and again tonight, and you think it's worth talking about.
I think this is a historic night. Black men will now, those who voted for Trump will be counted as those who helped save America from further decline. I mean, Kamala Harris has tried her best to create these accents like, you better thank a union member, all of these things that she's done to try to appeal to this community, even going on Oprah Winfrey's talk show or whatever that was to say, oh, I'll pull out my gun and shoot someone that tries to come into my house. I mean, this has become nonsensical to the point that I don't know if we're looking at Medea runs for president or not. I mean, this is outstanding what has happened from the black male perspective, and I hope the Republican Party takes note.
Oh, okay, it's coming out now. Y'all give it like a minute. Hold up. I follow B&O on
You know what young people
Twitter,
are
and
geared
they
into.
are
you
on top of it.
surprised when you see these voter
They're on
analysis
top of
numbers?
it.
The young voters came out heavy for Donald Trump.
You just wait now. It's gonna
Voters
come
can
like
sniff out
crazy.
a fraud. They can sniff out somebody who's chameleon-like. She changes her position according to the prevailing winds. They didn't like that. Many across the country, young students said, for me, a red line also is mass atrocities, is collective punishment, is what I see going on in the Middle East, and I see us as complicit in. So they, were saying, I'm not just that enthusiastic. Yeah, I'm not going to get out.
I got 15 seconds for you, Steve.
I just think when I see this unfold, Trace, it is just a massive victory.
Oh, we got to jump back.
sense.
Sorry, guys, back to you. We got Trump coming out.
They got Trump coming in.
Trace, thank you.
It'll be
The Fox
announced.
News Decision Desk can now officially project that
Oh.
Donald Trump will become
There it
the
is.
47th president of the United States.
There it
The
is.
president's comeback will be complete with a win in
Oh
Wisconsin,
my
a state that he
God.
narrowly lost 4 years ago. He is now the second president in U.S. history to win non-consecutive terms. The first was Grover Cleveland in the late 1800s. Senator J.D. Vance will become the 50th vice president
That's where we was
of the
all waiting
United
for,
States.
right there.
Voters expressed deep frustration with the Biden
I got chills
administration
right now. I don't even
and
know why.
former President Trump and the future President
Man, I
Trump
just want this world to get a better
overperformed
place.
in urban areas, particularly with men, proving that the strategy that they doubled and tripled down on over the course of the last few
Oh
months
my God.
absolutely succeeded and brought him back to the White House.
47th president of the United States, former President Trump now defeats Vice President Kamala Harris, who entered this race just over 100 days ago. And for Democrats, they were projecting the possibility of running
Yeah, Trump
the table
won. Trump
with
officially
battleground
won.
states.
I wish I could change
David
the title.
Plouffe with the
I'm
Democratic
gonna put it on the
campaign of
screen,
Harris
that way.
campaign suggested that just yesterday.
I'll put it on the screen,
Now
that way
it is
everybody knows. But
possible
yes, Trump just
that
got
Donald Trump runs the table
reelected
with these states and builds on a big landslide electoral win. We don't know where the popular
Wow,
vote
that's
is going to
crazy.
finish out, but we do know that he will be going back to the White House, and with him, with Hume, will be a lot of changes because he will have been there once and will know what he wants to do.
He often accounts for the
In all these people's faces, think about the angst and the, all that this campaign has been through, and now there is the prospect of creating what you want to create in a second administration. Your thoughts, 30,000
we
feet
broke that. That was
of this
crazy.
win.
We were live just
Indictments, two assassination attempts, an unlikely come-from-behind victory, and history is made tonight. This is a huge moment, particularly because this is a tectonic to former president, now soon to be current President Trump. And I just want to say this as we wait for him to come out. I remember having a conversation with Ivanka Trump in 2016 about his remarks. And before he went out to give those remarks, he had speech A and speech B. Speech A was a more boisterous Trumpian speech. Speech B was a speech full of unity, and he looked up, Ivanka said, saw the faces of crying Hillary voters. He ripped up the boisterous speech and said he wanted to heal the nation. And the first words he said were an appreciation for Hillary Clinton, for her service to our country, and then he said, now it is time for America to bind the wounds of division. And he said, we are a party of all races, creeds, and religions. That is more true tonight than it was 8 years ago. And I fully expect President Trump right now is maybe ripping up that more boisterous speech and preparing to unite the country.
It's an amazing message.
I hope Kaylee's right. I hope you're right. And we're gonna get a chance to see here in a minute. Trey Gowdy said something on your show the other day about how one of the things that you hope also is they're a little more prepared this time. They've got a great transition
Allison, the
team.
polls will take a little bit to get outdated,
And I hope
but
that there are a lot
Fox
of
News
people
just
who want to go
announced
in
it.
and be helpful.
You'll see it a lot here soon.
I think his transition team has done a wonderful job vetting potential candidates. And to Kaylee's point, I think a liberated Donald Trump, he's never going to be on the ballot again. This is his last term. I think, Harold, he will surprise his detractors. I think he will be not anything like what his detractors have described him as being now that he is liberated. If I'm wrong, you can hold me to that. But I think he will, a liberated Donald Trump is going to shock his detractor.
He has said that the
They were taking
assassination
forever to update the
attempts
polls
had an
earlier.
impact on him. We saw him in many ways return to the very rough and tumble style that we've seen in Donald Trump towards the end of this. But now he will take the stage tonight as the next president of the United States, and he will not be able to run again. And I think that is another liberating factor.
Right to be joyful, every right to celebrate. Will give a speech with that tone tonight that in many ways could help him do all of the things that he campaigned on in this campaign.
What does this mean for the never-Trumpers who are Republicans and the Lincoln Project people and Bill Kristol and people like that who seem to abandon everything they never previously believed in order to oppose Donald Trump?
We'll get to the never-Trumpers soon enough and the hundreds of millions of dollars wasted on them. Look, Donald Trump won this on policy and personality. I don't want to be remiss here. He is talking about energy independence, manufacturing, an economy where everybody is working, no new foreign wars, getting out of the entanglements we currently have, respecting and resourcing law enforcement, border patrol, military. And by the way, friends, we don't get those policies without that personality. What did we hear during the Republican primaries? I want Donald Trump's policies without his personality. Good luck with that. You don't get this strength and this resolve and this toughness. You don't get those policies without that. But I want to say this. It's on this phone that Huma Abedin placed a call 2:30 a.m. on November 9th, 2016. And on the other line was Secretary Clinton to concede the race to Donald Trump on my phone. I handed it to him. And I said to Vice President-elect Mike Pence, make sure Hillary actually concedes. She did. And President Trump was gracious to them, too. They came to the luncheon at the Capitol after the inauguration. The Obamas and the Clintons were there. I was there to see it myself. And then something just changed. The Washington Post said, let's impeach him at noon, 2 minutes after he's inaugurated. Melania wrote about this in her book. So, Harold, I hear you. I hope everybody can unify. But I got to tell you, my friend, I think it starts with your party and not mine.
Fair enough.
They had this guy in a courtroom. He's not an indoor cat. I get it. They have him, and they had him in the courtroom. They have him impeached. They have him, and whether
that was my only point.
I got a gracious winner today when I talked to him. I really did. He's known for a while. He was going to. I wrote a piece on FoxNews.com October 11th saying he's going to have a narrow landslide. I think he's felt that for a while, but he wanted to go and earn it.
And I even think the people around him have to be gracious too. I think he will. I know him as well as you, but I think the people around him can be gracious as well.
That's a different question.
We can always hope.
No, well, that comes from the top.
Once more, I just want to say how much money was spent on this election. $15.9 billion with a bill.
Wow.
B, if you spend $1,000 a day for 2,740 years, that would be $1 billion. It was 16 times that. What has been spent on every race, presidency, the whole deal. $16 billion. And here we are.
What is that, a check you can write to for every American? What did you say?
$50. If not $40.
But I just want to say, every presidential race has a medium. You go back to television, cable. This was, in some ways, a podcast experience. When there's a lot of ways to reach people, but I think it's really interesting and something we'll be talking about a lot in terms of the reach of these endorsements.
You know what I was struck by? The
Rogan
final
and Musk and the rest of
the
them.
final ads where
They were excellent.
They talked about making America great again, but then ending with the assassination attempt and that fist in the air, the iconic image, and the fight, fight, fight.
Absolutely.
Warrior
And
president.
it worked.
Yep.
Yeah, toughest son of a gun we ever saw. That was the last note we see in that ad. And I think, I think for whatever you think of the guy, you got to admire that.
Yeah.
I mean, the adversity.
I hope he comes out
he's
soon. I'm
faced,
sleepy.
everything we've
2
seen
a.m.
in other presidencies and other political figures who've gone through all kinds of trouble are pale in comparison to what he's been put through.
No,
Maybe it's time for his enemies to stop it.
Not only that, but the energy that he has is truly amazing. He's the Energizer Bunny. Let's check in with Aisha Housing, speaking of the Energizer Bunny, at Trump headquarters in West Palm. Aisha, this has been a big night all night long. I'm sure it's really getting fever pitch now.
A big night, Brett and Martha, a long campaign for the former president, for all of us, the press corps that have been following him around now for more than a year. The crowd went absolutely nuts when Fox News called it here, and people were hugging each other, they were high-fiving each other, that people were on FaceTiming. I think they were just couldn't believe it that this happened tonight and they didn't have to wait days and days and days. We are now awaiting the former president to take the podium.
George W. Bush in 2004, and you work so hard, and I know that they're disappointed, but you should concede and let your opponent have their election night, and let everybody that's there at Trump. At Mar-a-Lago, where are they? They're in Palm Beach.
They're in West Palm at the
They're in West
convention
Palm Beach,
center.
At the convention center, like, let them have their moment without anyone. Like, I remember Andy Card had to come in and say, well, yes, we know we won, but we have to wait until John Kerry concedes, and then we all had to traipse back in the next morning and wait, and you don't get that moment. I don't think it's right. And
that's not to say there's not going to be a phone call. There could be a phone call tonight, but she's not going to speak publicly.
Trump won.
If there's a phone call, they have to make it public. And then
a very bad split screen. You probably couldn't see it in here, but they're filing out, and he's expanding his folks, and they're all excited for him. Look, I think that Kamala Harris is a sign of the times, but I think that Trump's a metaphor for the country. And when he says we don't surrender, fight, 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 we get back up, I just think I think that's who it is. The other thing I just want to say, maybe it's as a Catholic, maybe it's just as a Trump supporter, maybe it's just as a flawed human being. We all get second chances in this life. Rarely do we get a second chance as big as this one. And I have got to believe the man that I know and that Kayleigh worked with is going to work with a certain alacrity and energy to get things done very quickly. What he can do through executive order, what he could do with the Congress, bringing in the governors. No one gets a second chance this big in their lives and just puts it on the shelf like it's a trophy or a gold star. He's going to use that as a platform for good and undo some of these bad policies, and I think do even better. You know, these celebrities, these athletes, he's got job creators and innovators. He's got Elon Musk and Dana White. He's got people who make stuff, who people say, wow, there's an American success story, and he's going to bring them aboard.
So Vice President Harris has now encountered what is known as the Van Buren curse. It's the failure of the vice president to get to the presidency. Only two have done it, and that is Mark Van Buren in 1836 and George H.W. Bush in 1988.
Yeah, Tracy, he did.
You know, the question is what the Republican Party looks like now. And Kayleigh, it's a multiracial party, to your point. It's working class, and maybe it's the future. I mean, it's Elon Musk. It is Joe Rogan and podcasts. It is, you know, there's an opportunity here on both parties to realign and change.
There are going to be a lot of conversations that go on to that end. Who is the next standard bearer for president? Is it J.D. Vance? Is he the one who picks up the torch after a 4-year legacy-defining term with the success that Kellyanne's describing? Is it J.D. Vance that picks it up? There's going to be a conversation about ground game. I mean, Kamala Harris over the weekend, they were saying they were knocking 1,000 doors a minute, and I have no reason to doubt that. It was an extraordinary ground game, but do ground games matter as much as podcasts? As much as real, authentic, viral moments like President Trump on the garbage truck, or President Trump at McDonald's, these viral moments that really captured the attention of the nation. And what does the Republican Party look like going forward? It's a broad coalition. It's an exciting coalition. And I think if President Trump manifests that working man agenda, no tax on tips, no limits on credit card interest rate, that's a working man's economic agenda. And if he makes that happen in 4 years, this party may look like this for quite some time.
I'm struck when you're talking about the authenticity part of this, because when I think about him with the French fries at McDonald's and standing up with blood on his face, fight, fight, fight. You can't fabricate. No, consultant can create those moments, Trey. Those are organic and they are authentic. And I think that is something that Kamala Harris fell really far short on in terms of the authenticity measure.
Yeah, if you had told me that a billionaire from New York would be able to connect with middle America, I would have questioned that. To my friend, the gentleman from Tennessee, autopsies are painful, especially when the patient's still alive. I wonder what the Democrat Party is going to go through in the next weeks and months, because this was a loss that I don't think anyone saw coming, not to this magnitude. So what does the autopsy look like if you're a Democrat?
They said
It's
Trump's
painful,
expected
but you
on
have
stage
to have
in
one.
minutes. So
How did you
hopefully
lose,
we'll
and
be
how
able to
did
see
you lose this soundly?
The easiest way to do it for them would be to simply say, if Joe Biden hadn't clung to the job, clung to the nomination, and hidden his condition with a lot of help, they could have had an open nominating process and gotten a more attractive nominee who would have been freer to walk away from Biden policies and would have had a better shot. I mean, I think that's the easiest, simplest solution. But I'm not sure that's where they'll go. But that makes sense.
I don't think you can pass over an African-American female, which is a very loyal constituency for the Democrat Party. I don't see how they could have passed over.
But if he'd left the office and she'd run, she would have been put through a different process and would have had competition, and the whole thing would have been different.
But Harold, you have a Democratic Party that's pretty old. I mean, you have Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden.
You got Andy Beshear, you got Josh Shapiro, you got Gretchen Whitmer.
That's a different kind of Democrat, and that is not the progressive Democrat that wins in a primary. So is it going to be a change in your party?
Well, we nominated a Bill Clinton and a Barack Obama who were not from the party. So I think we'll do that. Look, tonight, what happened this evening and what's happened over the last year has been described. There were those on this panel who didn't believe that this resurrection could have occurred. So if this can happen, things are possible in politics if you're willing to change and willing to have courage and determination. And whatever Democrats or anybody
the News Nation
wants to say
reporter
about
said they
this
just
guy
removed the
who's been
teleprompter
elected
from
our
the stage
president,
here at Trump's.
he personifies that courage and determination and persistence. So I think, Trey, you were asking a serious question, and Britt gave a very serious answer. I think that's going to be part of the answer. And we've got to look long and hard about whether or not the way we campaign sometimes with identity politics, then at the end, is that the right way to do it? But before you get there, you got to get a purpose and a message. And we'll get there. And we've got a long history of figuring these things out as a nation, as a party, and we'll figure it out this time.
So the carnage speech got a lot of attention at the inauguration. Do we think that this speech,
I was going way back.
we're actually told that the teleprompters have been removed from the stage, so we could be in for a long haul here. We don't know. But what do you think? He's coming, but there may not be.
I'm saying he goes off the teleprompter anyway, but he,
they removed the teleprompter.
He was upset that there were teleprompters.
They're talking about it right
doesn't
now.
want to use them.
Right. So Dana, what does this speech look like?
This one right now?
Yeah.
I think look, I don't know. He's one of the most unpredictable people, too. So I think that's why we're all here, and I'm wide awake, and I've been awake for almost 24 hours now. And I am curious to see. I think I wasn't just thinking about this speech. I'm thinking about the inauguration speech, which would be 8 years since Carnage speech. He has a wide range of the types of speeches that he can give. If you think even within a speech, there's range. If you think about the RNC convention, it started off with like, oh, wow, yeah. And then after a while, it was like, wow, he's still talking. It was like so long, and it kind of got off script, and people thought, oh, he kind of lost opportunity. But he didn't. I think if you look at these people who would take off work, drive somewhere in the middle of the night to go and get in line, to wait for hours, to then stay at a rally for hours. And part of the things he has done as well is created this camaraderie amongst people so that you could go to a place where you're not afraid to wear your red MAGA hat and you could say, I'm not the crazy one. I'm not the only one who thinks the way that I do. I can actually have friends, and that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be outreach to the other side. I believe in love thy neighbor. I love all of that. But he has created something special here, so I kind of want him to take a victory lap tonight. I don't think this is necessarily the moment for unity, especially when she won't even concede and give him the night to celebrate.
I'm so interested to see this.
Kellyanne, you were looking at the popular vote. He's still up and could finish up.
And part of that is because he did run up the totals in places I was looking at, even the rural counties in Pennsylvania. He was going to win them by significant double digits, but he won them that much more. I think running up the totals in Florida, which was a swing state not that long ago, over 1.1 million votes or so. Haley, right, your home state. And this is, look, I think that when the Democrats take a look at this candidacy, it's not going to be did she have too much time, not enough time. She's just a flawed candidate. She doesn't speak well. She doesn't work hard. I'm not being mean or partisan. I don't know why the country would have rewarded this candidate with the big job when she couldn't make the case what she does as vice president that affects our lives in a positive way. She was given that opportunity. I personally would like to thank the women of The View tonight for asking this question, for having her on. Oprah, we see you, and so on and so forth. People who thought they were doing her a favor because they made her something she's not. It's the opposite for Trump. They make him something he's not. Take that one word, take that one line, take that cherry pick this, that, the other. You never get the essence. I go back, does everybody remember 5 years ago, so Laurel and Yanny, or what color dress? You hear Laurel, I hear Yanny. You see the blue dress, I see yellow dress. We were all looking at the same thing. That's the way Donald Trump is in this country. There are people who look exactly the same person, and they see two different vistas. I think it's time that we try to see one. Look, I don't know who said it earlier. I'm a little worried about the reaction of the Democrats and the common people here. I'm very worried. I think that there are a lot of unhinged people across the political spectrum, and we gave very little quarter to how many anti-Kamala voters are out there. I don't want to hear the words racism and sexism. It's eyesight and hearing. We were listening and watching her, and I'm very worried that we've not talked a lot about how violent people may be and angry because she lost. Right. I'm afraid of that.
Right. I mean, I can just imagine thinking about The View, and a week or so ago, they were saying, what is wrong with someone who would vote for him?
Michelle Obama.
And Joe Scarborough saying, we weren't raised like this. Who raised these people? So I can only imagine what tomorrow is going to look like.
I will say when we talk about The View, what comes to mind is we mentioned the carnage speech that President Trump gave at his inauguration. And my mind automatically went to the unity speech that Biden gave, and he mentioned unity a half dozen times. But when you think about what we got over 4 years, there was the garbage comment that didn't come in isolation. There were all kinds of comments. Neanderthal was one of the first words he used to describe those who opposed his COVID edicts. The Mark Cuban comment, he was an official surrogate of the Kamala campaign. And for, as mean as some of President Donald Trump's tweets have been and people have problems with it, one thing I've challenged Democrats to find is one example of him disparaging the country, half of the country, and that's something he has not done. And so I expect you'll hear a unifying tone, and I expect you're going to see a very successful presidency and one untethered maybe from some of the things that were holding him back. What comes to mind is an Oval Office meeting that we had where Dr. Fauci was urging him not to open the country. And I watched President Trump fight vociferously, saying people are losing their jobs. We must open the country. He wanted to do it sooner than he did. I think that Donald Trump, who goes with his instincts, is going to be a Trump that ultimately leads a very successful country in second term.
Martha, Joe Biden mentioned the word unity more in his inaugural address than any president, I think, except one. If he's serious about that, he'll pardon Donald Trump. He'll also pardon his son. And then he'll put pressure on Georgia and New York to end this lawfare. If there is any silver lining tonight, it is that lawfare actually helps the person that you are trying to go after We need a justice system. The lady needs to wear a blindfold for a reason. We got to stop this prosecution of our political enemies.
I mean, literally, his
He will
polls
make
went
will
up.
be the Attorney General.
Absolutely.
We need a really solid Attorney General.
John Ratcliffe.
Can do it.
Sorry, John. Sorry, John. I apologize. Sorry.
There will be a lot of talk about cabinet members, Treasury Secretary, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense. You've got Tom Cotton, Mike Pompeo. You have.
Well, you also have a Republican bench. And sometimes, like you were saying, that the Democratic Party is quite old right now. There's not a great bench, although there are some, and especially, but when you take governors out of states, then you leave a hole, and then you have to build up that bench back up. But the Republican bench is pretty strong right now.
There you see Doug Burgum and Vivek Ramaswamy, Steve Wynn, his lovely wife Andrea. So people are there waiting for the former president. Britt would like to know where he is.
He's watching us.
Can we say tonight, though, Harold, that the melting pot still works? That Hispanics, Black Americans, working class Americans, standing up, asking what their government is going to do, asking their government to see them and their concerns, that it works, that this is American democracy in our republic working.
The process
New York
works.
Post just
I think
just
as
announced
we
Trump
get
as the winner
a
as
final
well.
account of the numbers and the coalition that President Trump won with this time, I think it'll be one that will be for the history books. President Bush, I think, got 40+% of the Hispanic vote. George Bush, W. Bush, and it looks like President, at least the preliminary numbers suggest that. But as much as we talk about the unconventional aspect of this was conventional also. People believed him. He resonated with voters. He resonated with communities, rural communities, urban communities, suburban communities across the country. And I congratulate him tonight. I didn't want him to win, but I congratulate him on his victory and wish him the best for my country. And I can only hope that the concerns that are articulated by my dear friend Kellyanne, that they're not realized. I hope that my party and my friends, and for that matter, Republicans alike, that we're all able, once we get past the moment here, the 24 hours of excitement and joy and celebration, to understand that what we're really celebrating is the greatest experiment to have ever come to existence. It will celebrate 250 years of its own existence in 2026. So those are my thoughts, brother.
Yeah,
I'm struck by the issue that of abortion, because it was talked about so much, and it was presented as if, you're a woman and you are not going to support her, then you hate all women. They said that husbands, were hateful towards their wives and the women in their lives if they didn't support this candidate. And I think it just goes to show that that kind of, manipulating, it doesn't win.
And narrowcasting us based on our gender. I think Kamala Harris was talking to us from the waist down, and I think Donald Trump was talking to us from the waist up as well. That's where my eyes, my ears, my heart, my brain, and my big mouth are. So, you got to talk to the woman in full. It's as if she doesn't know anything about the economy, or she doesn't care about what's going on in Ukraine or Israel or with Iran, or can't do the math on her grocery bill. It's an insult. Of course people care, but we care about many things. Just as we are not monolithic in life, we're not monolithic thinkers politically. But Martha, something else happened. They put these ballot initiatives on to try to gin up turnout for the Democrat. And they did that, and it kind of backfired. Look at this popular vote. And it backfired. The other thing is, if you've got 10 abortion ballot initiatives, you can vote your conscience on abortion, and you can vote separately or similarly for president. The presidential race was not a proxy for your position on abortion. By the way, somebody sent me the statistics. Over $500 million spent on ads about abortion. $500 million in this country out of the $16 billion Brett is talking about. $37 million for pro-lifers. The rest was the pro-choicers. It's just insane amount of money.
So we've spent a lot of time talking about markets tonight and the betting markets. Trey, at this point, it's at about 66% that Republicans hold on to the House as they're ticking down the possibilities, and they look at these coattails with not only the popular vote, but what could be and is shaping up to be an electoral college landslide. Should he control the White House, the Senate, and the House, like he did at the beginning in 2016, the possibilities open to a lot of things.
Yeah, I was there in 2016, and we had everything but an agenda. That mistake will not be made. Then quit using lawfare to divide the country. Quit using the justice system to try to win political races.
We are still following these Senate races, and as we wait for the former president, by the way, there's Nigel Farage there talking in the crowd there. Britt, this is remarkable in that some of these races were not even suspected to be close, expected to be close. Mike Rogers, he was a long shot at one point against Alyssa Slotkin.
Good candidate.
In Michigan, good candidate.
Strong candidate.
Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee.
Right.
But Sam Brown was left essentially, he was not going to win.
He was not on anybody's list.
Nope.
Likely switching.
Not getting much money or attention.
No, but I think he's a competent candidate. Once again, we have.
By the way, there's Sam Brown right there, 48.1 to 47.2, 80% in over Jackie Rosen.
How much? Renews our understanding that candidate quality matters.
Yep.
In this cycle, Republicans in the Senate races in particular fielded some pretty darn good candidates that gave them a shot in states where Republicans often face an uphill battle. And the fact that, it looks like it won't be just a squeaker, there might be a little margin there for Republicans, and the Senate is testament to that.
Let's see what Wisconsin is, guys. Can we put up Hovde in Wisconsin?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President-elect Donald J. Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, and the Trump family, accompanied by Vice.
Came down so gently, and then it wrapped those arms around it, and it held it, and just like you hold your baby at night, your little baby. And it was a beautiful thing to see, and I called Elon. I said, Elon, was that you? He said, yes, it was. I said, who else can do that? Can Russia do it? No. Can China do it? No. Can the United States do it other than you? No. Nobody can do that. I said, that's why I love you, Elon. That's great. And when we had the...
This is what happens when the machine comes after you. What you've seen over the last several years, this is what it looks like. Couldn't stop him. He keeps going forward. He doesn't quit. He's the most resilient, hard-working man I've ever met in my life. His family are incredible people. This is karma, ladies and gentlemen. He deserves this. They deserve it as a family. I want to thank some people real quick. I want to thank the Nelk Boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn, Bustin' with the Boys, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan. And thank you, America. Thank you. Have a good night.
That is a piece of work. No, he's really an amazing guy. But most of all, I want to thank the millions of hardworking Americans across the nation who have always been the heart and soul of this really great movement. We've been through so much together, and today you showed up in record numbers to deliver a victory like like no other. This was something special, and we're gonna pay you back. We're gonna do the best job. We're gonna turn it around. It's got to be turned around. It's got to be turned around fast, and we're gonna turn it around. We're gonna do it in every way, with so many ways, but we're gonna do it in every way. This will forever be remembered as the day the American people regained control of their country. So I just want to say that on behalf of this great group of people, these are hard-working people. These are fantastic people, and we can add a few names like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He came in. And he's going to help make America healthy again. And now he's a great guy, and he really means it. He wants to do some things, and we're going to let him go to it. I just said, but, Bobby, leave the oil to me. We have more liquid gold, oil and gas. We have more liquid gold than any country in the world, more than Saudi Arabia. We have more than Russia. Bobby, stay away from the liquid gold. Other than that, go have a good time, Bobby. We're going to be paying down debt. We're going to be reducing taxes. We can do things that nobody else can do. Nobody else is going to be able to do it. China doesn't have what we have. Nobody has what we have. But we have the greatest people also. Maybe that's the most important thing. This campaign has been so historic in so many ways. We've built the biggest, the broadest, the most unified coalition. They've never seen anything like it in all of American history. They've never seen it. Young and old, men and women, rural and urban. And we had them all helping us tonight. When you think, I mean, I was looking at it, I was watching it. They had some great analysis of the people that voted for us. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. They came from all corners, union, non-union, African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, Arab American, Muslim American. We had everybody, and it was beautiful. It was a historic realignment, uniting citizens of all backgrounds around a common core of common sense. You know, we're the party of common sense. We want to have borders. We want to have security. We want to have things be good, safe. We want great education. We want a strong and powerful military, and ideally, we don't have to use it. You know, we had no wars. 4 years, we had no wars, except we defeated ISIS. We defeated ISIS in record time, but we had no wars. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. But this is also a massive victory for democracy and for freedom. Together, we're going to unlock America's glorious destiny, and we're going to achieve the most incredible future for our people. Yesterday, as I stood at my last stop on the campaign trail, I'll never be doing a rally again. Can you believe it? I think we've done 900 rallies approximately from the, can you imagine? 901, something, a lot of rallies. And it was sad. Everybody was sad. Many people, I said, this is our last rally. But now we're going on to something that's far more important, because the rallies were used for us to be put in this position where we can really help our country. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make our country better than it ever has been. And I said that many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world. Just as I did in my first term, we had a great first term, a great, great first term. I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people. We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again. And I'm asking every citizen all across our land to join me in this noble and righteous endeavor. That's what it is. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try. We're going to try. We have to try. And it's going to happen. Success will bring us together. I've seen that. I've seen that. I saw that in the first term when we became more and more successful. People started coming together. Success is going to bring us together, and we are going to start by all putting America first. We have to put our country first for at least a period of time. We have to fix it, because together we can truly make America great again for all Americans. So I want to just tell you what a great honor this is. I want to thank you. I will not let you down. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than it has ever been before. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow.
have it. The 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump. I'm going to bed. It's like freaking 3 a.m. Hope y'all have a good night. And yeah, I think that's